All right, welcome back to the channel. So Terence Crawford demands a 60-40 split from Errol Spence Jr. or the fight is not gonna happen. And he says that he is happy at Top Rank. There is almost no hope for Terence Crawford. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back, welcome back. You know, sometimes in life you just have to get settled and understand that people are who they are. When somebody shows you who they are, believe it. That is who they are. And Terence Crawford is showing me who he is. And who that is an egomaniac, delusional athlete that does not see what is going on right in front of his face because he is too into him getting his own way. And that is the only explanation that that makes sense to me for the ridiculous things that came out of Terence Crawford's mouth in an interview with a young lady named Miss Boxing Baby. People forwarded me the interview, and at first I was like, man, this is really, really nice. He's interviewing with somebody. I do believe I've seen her before. I've seen her work before, but it didn't really just come to my mind where I've seen her before. And I was like, okay, this is clearly a smaller channel. This is a young black woman who really feels like who actually relates really well to Terence Crawford. Terence was feeling comfortable. You know, he was shaking ramen packages looked like it was in an apartment or something, but shaking ramen packages and eating ramen, just felt real comfortable talking to this young lady and sharing what he thought. And I was like, wow, what a great way, what a great interview. I was really into it. I was like, man, I can't wait to talk about this interview because Terence Crawford is doing what people ask him to do. Interview with smaller channels, people from your own community that will represent you in the right way, right? Loved it. But then there was a problem. Terence Crawford started talking and saying things. And when he started talking and saying things, I was like, man, what are you on? Are you serious? Do you think anybody is really going to go for this? Or is it just the people around you that are telling you that this stuff makes sense, man? Because it does not. But let's go through what it was. And I'm going to go through each so you guys understand, dude. Seriously, somebody needs to tap Terence on the shoulder, dude, and say, look, man, not everybody's your enemy, okay? You can't be mad at us because we're saying Top Rank screwing you and also on the other side, act like a prima donna. Like, the idea. Anyway, let me go through this. First, she asks, who do you really want? He says Manny Pacquiao. He starts talking about Manny Pacquiao. Now, the first time he brought up Manny Pacquiao with Bob Arum, I thought, okay, maybe this is just some type of game. Bud could not possibly believe that Manny Pacquiao was going to fight him. He cannot possibly believe that at this stage in his career and this stage with Manny Pacquiao, that Manny Pacquiao is going to willingly feed himself to Terence Crawford for the last fight of his career. If Terence Crawford believes that, now maybe Terence Crawford is right, okay? Because sometimes, you know, when you put like 11 numbers together and you give somebody $1, sometimes that hits on the lottery. But 99,999,999 times, it's going to be wrong. So I guess there is that 1 in a million lottery chance that Terence Crawford is right about Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Pacquiao just really gets a feeling in his guts that he wants to prove that he is the best fighter today. I guarantee you that's not what he's thinking, okay? He just got it out of a fight with Keith Thurman, which he got beat up in, okay? You can say he did. People can say he won that fight, and he did win the fight, but man, his reflexes were not what they were. He was taking flush right hands from Terence Crawford. I mean, from Keith Thurman straight on the grill. He did not go to a party afterwards. He went to the hospital. If you think this guy, honestly, is going to be fighting you, Terence, come on, man, be real. Don't call me a hater. Just, I'm trying to be honest with you and anybody else to support you. If he wouldn't fight you years ago when you were green on the way up and he was in his prime, for whatever reason, Either Bob Arum didn't want it, or Manny Pacquiao didn't want it, or Jeff or Freddie Roach didn't want it. Whatever the case is, if it didn't happen then, why would you think that Manny Pacquiao is going to come back to ESPN, or excuse me, come back to Top Rank after he already left Top Rank to come back and fight you? What sense does that make? But again, maybe you can hit the lottery and maybe you're right. However, the next thing that he says is ludicrous. Ludicrous. And I wasn't going to address this. I heard all the reports coming out yesterday that Errol Spence said that he wanted 60-40 for the Terence Crawford fight, right? And then Terence Crawford says, well, I guess that fight's not happening. And then in this interview with this lady, Terence Crawford says, and maybe this is where people got it from, hey, if it's not 60-40 my way, this is what Terence Crawford said. If it's not 60-40 my way, then the fight's not happening because I've done so much more than Errol Spence in his little old career. Even the interviewer had to be like, his little old career? Are you serious, Bud? Are you serious? Now, does Bud, I would love, I'm not going to do that question thing. I would love if Bud and Errol Spence fought 50-50. I would love it. I think that that would be a great gesture for the sport of boxing because it's apparent that everybody wants to see both people in that fight. Okay? So if somebody was to ask me, do I think Errol Spence deserves 60-40? I would say, just like Andre Ward said, hey, man, he really does. Andre Ward, who I got some heat for, dog, is coming in the next video. Man, Andre, stop. Please stop. You're out of your water. You're out of your depth. Please stop. But anyway, Errol Spence has multiple matchups where he can make pretty much the same money he would make against Terence Crawford, which means the PBC has multiple ways to make more money with Errol Spence Jr. against Sean Porter and PBC fighters than they do have for fighting Terence Crawford. So, no, dude, you saying 60-40, all that's doing is shutting down the fight because everybody knows you ain't getting no 60-40 on a guy that has back-to-back-to-back successful, if after Danny Garcia, he gets past Danny Garcia, a guy that has had back-to-back-to-back successful pay-per-views while you're not, while people aren't even pubbing you up in your own promotional company. You think you're getting 60-40 over him? Get out of here, dude. Deontay Wilder never asked for 60-40 advantage over Anthony Joshua. And anybody that was a Deontay Wilder supporter would have said, of course not 60-40. We think 60-40 for AJ Wilder is a fair deal. Okay? Guess what? Tyson Fury didn't deserve 50-50. Deontay Wilder gave it to him. Errol Spence Jr. does not have to be as giving and as active to try to make a fight with you as Deontay Wilder did with Tyson Fury because Errol Spence Jr. is not in the situation that Deontay Wilder was in. Deontay Wilder was in a situation where everybody was ducking him, and he needed to get that fight with Tyson Fury, so he tried to go out of his way and make it, and he paid the consequences for pulling that dude out of the gutter. But you're not in that situation with Errol Spence at all, not even remotely. Dude, you could retire tomorrow and say you make the Hall of Fame or you don't make the Hall of Fame. That's not going to have one iota effect on Errol Spence Jr. because he has a Canelo Alvarez fight. Canelo Alvarez says that he wants to fight Errol Spence. At least that's what Reynosa's saying. So, dude, you're not a Canelo Alvarez fight. It's just what it is. So for you to say that just makes you sound delusional. But anyway, or not delusional because you don't believe that. Just stubborn and insistent on getting things your own way. And sometimes, dude, that don't work, man. And it's not working at Top Rank, and it dang sure ain't going to work with people at the PBC that could take you or leave you. That's my take on it. Now, here's the other thing, dude, where Bud really went sideways. When he talked about people in his competition. Bud acted like people did not know who these fighters were. Yes, we do. We know who Igis Kalvinakis is. We know. We saw the Ray Robinson fight. Okay? Nobody's confusing him for Errol Spence. So for Bud to say that Igis Kalvinakis would give a lot of trouble to all of the top guys and even beat them, man, give me a break. He drew with Ray Robinson. Get out of here. Amir Khan would give everybody at the top of the 147-pound division troubles. Are you kidding me? Danny Garcia knocked him out senseless years ago. We know who these people are, Bud. We know who Jose Benavidez is. We know about the bullet shots to his leg. We cover boxing. We talk about boxing on a daily basis. And you guys have to respect that, okay? Because you need boxing fans. There's never going to be some magical moment where the opinion of boxing fans don't matter because we're the ones that pay your bill. So anyway, as far as all of this stuff goes, Bud is tripping. Should Bud get 50-50? Absolutely, man. Get a man 50-50. PBC, give him 50-50. Errol Spence Jr. should fight Terence Crawford to solidify his legacy if he's able to beat Danny Garcia. But dude, giving up, what would the change be if what is that, a 40-point swing? Tyson, you're telling Errol that he has to go from 60 to 40 while he needs to bring you up from 40 to 60? That's 20 points. 20-point swing for you that way and a 20-point swing for Errol that way. That is ridiculous. He's not doing it. Stop acting like that. That's just fantasy land. And what it's really making it sound like is that Terence Crawford just doesn't want that fight. Starting to sound a little bit like Tyson Fury. But that's my take. You let me know what you think in the comment sections. And with that, I'm out. Peace.